Yes, folks, this is the Lily Kate Show. Hello and welcome to my podcast. I'm Naomi and this is NJ Knits, where I talk about my knitting. So this week it's very exciting because it's time to give you a stash date. This year I am counting all of my stash, and I'm just in terms of number of balls of wool, and that's balls in any size, form. So I started the year with 300 balls of wool in my stash. Now, originally I had said it was 292, but actually, as soon as I made that video, I went away and my parents brought me 8 balls of wool from New Zealand. How perfect is that? So I'm counting that as my initial count, because they had already got them for me when I made the video. They just hadn't given them to me. So, and that's just so satisfying. 300 balls of wool is what I'm starting the year with, and I'm going to see how much of that I can get through. So yes, it's very exciting. The first thing I did was I gave away 16 balls of wool. It was brown mohair that I wasn't going to use. So that was 16 down. And then on the 9th of January, I made I have to go and get that actually, I don't have it. So, the first thing that I used some scraps on was a scrappy hat. And here it is, my finished object. It's going to be a gift for my partner's stepdad. It is basically the watch cap by Pearl Soho, done with scrap yarn. And it has a very big fold-up brim. I used 6 balls of scrap yarn for this. Can you believe it? I like it. I love how it turned out, actually. I think it's very successful. These were all just individual. Each stripe was basically a ball of scrap yarn, apart from this one, which was the same ball. But these were all individual stripes. And this was another ball of scrap yarn. So six balls down on my stash with this project, and I think it turned out really nicely. The next thing that I used scrap yarn for was not scrap yarn. The next thing that used up some balls of wool was I finished my 3rd pair of Advent socks, and I'm just putting them on a blocker for you. They are filthy because I wore them this weekend on a walking trip and we got very muddy. So here they are. These are my Advent socks, the last pair of socks that I made. I still have a few Advent balls left, but I've decided to do something else with them, I think. Probably a hat. But yeah, I've done all over 3x1 rib, and I did these ones top down. The other 2 pairs I made toe up. I did a heel flap and gusset, and I just went through each ball as I went along. At the top, I didn't change the ribbing at the top, but I did add some elastic to the top. Just one small strand. So these were a carryover project. I was working on them before the new year, and then I finished them after the new year. So that used up there was only one skein that I hadn't used, that I hadn't already used. So that was one skein down. So we've got 6 for the Advent socks. Sorry, 6 for the hat, 1 for the Advent socks, and the next finished object. Oh, so I'm only counting the item as the skein as out of stash when I've finished the full skein. Apart from if there's a little bit left, and that's the size you would use for a waist yarn cast on, that doesn't count. If it's a little bit bigger, like scrap size, then it does count. But if it's just if it goes in my little pouch for scrap yarn cast-ons, then it doesn't count. Or I guess it does. Counts as finished. But I generally try to just finish the whole thing. Finish it all, weave in the last of it, and then it's done. But anyways, my next my next finished object, which is one more ball of wool out of stash, I've also forgotten, so let me grab it. So this is one more ball out of stash. We're up to 8 balls now. This was the last ball for my second jumper. Raglan V-neck jumper. This was loosely based off of the Thin Air jumper by Lily Kate, but it's so badly followed that I wouldn't even really call it that jumper anymore. I used 2 balls of Brooklyn Tweed Veil here, 1 ball in the parchment colour and 1 ball in the morel colour. And I would say it's turned out just about exactly how I wanted it to. There's a couple things that I'm a little bit sad about. One is that the arms aren't fully full length because I didn't have enough yarn. And I decided not to change the cast on, the bind off for this, because actually it does fit over me just fine, and I kind of like that it's a bit tight. So I think because the bind off is quite tight here, it looks slightly round instead of V-shaped. But it's a very thin, very loose jumper with sort of bracelet, not loose, very tight jumper with sort of bracelet-like sleeves. It's meant to be worn next to skin, really. It's hard to get on over a shirt. Let me just try and adjust this a little bit so I can show you kind of what it looks like, because it sort of does bunch a little bit here, and that's probably to do with the fact that I didn't continue the raglan increases because I didn't want it to be too loose. I didn't want the sleeve to be super loose. I wanted it to be quite tight. I'm not exactly sure why this creasing is happening. But I absolutely love this jumper. It's really, really nice wool, and it's nice to have something that's next to skin. And I actually think that the striping works quite well with it. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. It's little So yeah, if you know why that happens, what I did to make that happen, I'd be curious. I'd be interested. Because I stopped the raglan increases about there and then just carried on with the same number of stitches until the underarm. And I don't know, maybe that was it. But anyway, it's finished. So the last ball of the yellow got put in as a stash a ball of wool that I have used up out of my stash. If I use the full ball of wool, it doesn't matter if the project isn't finished, it's out of stash. That's the way I've set up the rules. Just FYI, if you're following along, playing along, that's how I'm making it work. So that's that. Let's see my trusty book. So we're down 8 balls of wool, and that was in January 9th. And that made me down to 276 balls, because I'd gotten rid of the 16 plus the 8. Then I started working on some scrappy socks. Again for Holly's stepdad. Where are they? But I don't like them, and I'm gonna frog them. I was doing them toe up, and I was doing them with worsted weight, scraps. They were ribbed socks. I didn't like them. I didn't like looking at them. I didn't like knitting on them. I don't think there's any particular reason. Maybe the colours. I just didn't enjoy them. So I'm scrapping them, and actually when I put these scrap balls, they're actually small enough to just go in my like long tail cast on, not long tail, scrap yarn cast on. So I'm taking them out of stash that way. They're going into the throwaway, what's it called? Waste yarn. They're going into my waste yarn bin because they're such tiny scraps. So they're still out of stash. They're just out of stash in a different way. And so that's 4 more balls that I used in those socks. And next, I started a project. You saw this, I think you saw this last year in my last podcast. But my snow crocus has grown. Ta-da! Would you look at that? This might be one of my proudest makes so far. I'm using Knitting for Olive double soft merino, and I'm knitting it at a much tighter gauge. I think I'm using 4.5mm needles. Yeah, 4.5mm needles. And it is so nice. The cables, the texture is so nice. And again, I've made these sleeves not baggy or loose. I've made them quite tight, so that this can be like a really cozy, nice layering piece, like winter layering piece. And I just love it. The sleeves are really nice. They're at bracelet length. I think they might grow a bit once I've blocked it, so that will be good. And I'm just working on the last bit of the ribbing. I'm going to make the ribbing about the same length as it is on the sleeve, so about double this. And this is my last ball of double soft merino, which I just cracked into this morning. So I've got 6 balls of this out of my stash and into this beautiful, beautiful item. So I'm really proud of that. So that's 6 more balls out of stash. Let's see what else. We've got snow crocus, snow crocus, snow crocus. And then I cast on a new project on the 13th of January. And this, I had COVID, and I just wanted to make this. I've been wanting to make this pattern for a long time. It's from a book, like a 1990s knitting book, and it's such a cool way of knitting something. I really wanted to do it, and I had the yarn picked out. I had it planned as a project, for ages, just like the snow crocus. Actually, that's been planned as a project. I've had the yarn, had the pattern picked out. I just hadn't made it. And when I got COVID last week, I just cast this on and made it over the time I had COVID, and it got finished. So this is it. It is a slip over that's knit from the bottom corner out in garter stitch. And I used Briggs & Little unspun roving, which is this grey, and then I used Noro Ito, which is a slow colour changing yarn, as the contrast. And the pattern has it like as stripes, but I just used these two types of wool. And then I went for a really contrasty ribbing on it, with some of my yarn I got for Christmas, which is this sock yarn, yarwool sock yarn in neon pink. I made this for Holly. I'd picked it out for Holly, picked out the colours and everything. Holly picked out the yarn, the Noro yarn, and I don't think she's ever going to wear it. Sadly, I think it is too big for me. Otherwise, I think I would love it. The other thing is, I picked up the stitches. The stitches were hard to pick up on this nicely, and you can see they're picked up very badly. So it's meant to have this I-cord edging around here, and I guess maybe an I-cord would be better because you'd cover basically where you picked up. But even on the I-cord, I think it still doesn't look great. Maybe I should have done it from the other side. I don't know. Anyway, my central double decrease is not in the center. It should be like one stitch over probably. So that's awkward. I have blocked this. I thought I could fix it with the blocking, but it doesn't seem to be right. So yeah, sadly this is, I think, gonna have to be a fail, even though I bought the Noro yarn at full price, which is like £35, I think, from Beautiful Knitters. I think it's a fail. I don't know anyone who this would fit and who would like it. It fits Holly fine, but I just don't think she's ever gonna wear it. So that's a bit sad, but it's a very cool construction. It's done in pieces. You just do the back piece and the front piece. I tweaked the V so that it was lower, and that was kind of fun to do as well. That was quite interesting, because the V is meant to be basically on the line of the garter, so it's supposed to be much shallower, basically. And I made it less shallow, and I think that's maybe one of the reasons why this edge is a different shape to that edge a bit. But I don't know, it's a really cool construction, it's a cool design, it ends up with a cool pattern, I think. And the fabric is great. This Briggs & Little unspun is wonderful. It's really lovely, and I think it combined really, really well with the Noro. So I'm pleased with that. Just, think it's just never going to be worn, sadly. If you know anyone who might love this, let me know. I would love for someone to love this item. That is all. So that used up 3 balls of wool, because it used up 2, because I used up all the Briggs & Little, and I didn't use up all the Noro, so I have a little bit left over. Small amount of scrap, and then I didn't use up all of the sock yarn, so that only used 2 balls of wool. So at that point I'm down to 263 balls of wool. Oh sorry, it used 3 balls of wool because I had 3 balls of the Briggs & Little. I held it double, by the way. I held the Briggs & Little unspun roving in 2 strands. It comes in 5 strands, so you have to separate it, which is annoying, but I had done that before, so I didn't have to do it. I'd done it a long time ago, so that was nice. The next scrappy thing I did, because I was having fun using up lots of balls, so the scrappy ones are much easier to use, was I made this little baby jumper. That is not an end, that's a random thread. This baby jumper! So I have used up 4 balls of wool, 4 scrap balls for this. This is a hand-dyed sock yarn that I dyed here. This here is the leftovers of my hand-dyed, it's dyed with avocado, and this is like an Aran weight. And then this is leftovers from my Berlin wool that I got in Berlin that I made a jumper out of and gave away in 2021. And then this is more hand-dyed sock yarn that I dyed, as is that. So that's 1 ball, that's 1 ball, that's 1 ball, and that's 1 ball. And I used all of that. And then I used this for the trimming, which I didn't use all of. So I got 4 balls out of stash with this little jumper. And this is the everyday V-neck. And it's a very simple V-neck raglan jumper. It comes in a really good variety of sizes. So I made the smallest size, the 3-month. And you can make this size all the way up to like 14-year-old size. Really simple V-neck jumper, and I think it's a great one. I did a lot more sleeve decreases than were in the pattern, because like baby's arms tiny. And I'm going to send this off now to my friend who's either giving birth now or about to give birth. I did the surprisingly casty bind off here, and I probably shouldn't have because it's a little bit too bulky for this tiny little jumper, and this thick wool, but never mind. It's been blocked, it's dry, it's ready to go. It's very fun. I told my friend, like, it's not the prettiest thing you'll ever see. Like, I'm not gonna feel bad if you just put that on the baby when it's not going outside, or when you put it on the baby when the baby's gonna make a mess. Because it's sort of like, it's nice to have a jumper that's like, well, this is ugly, we don't care about it, we'll just... I don't know. That's what I'm telling myself as an excuse for making such a clashy item. But never mind. So that's that. That's 4 more balls out of stash. And that gets us down to 260 balls of wool. No, actually 257. Next, I casted on a new thing, which is again a project I've been planning to make, and I've had the yarn and I've had everything planned out. I just hadn't cast it on yet. And this is my Be Thankful cardigan by Lily Kate of Lily Kate France. I mean, of Lily Kate France of Lily Kate Makes. Anyways. I got this as a reward for test knitting something for her. And I've been looking forward to making it. I have done, so far, it's done bottom up, and I've done the bottom. And I'm about to start the back panel. I did the front panel. It's a V cardigan. It's done in worsted weight yarn, and I think the button band is added on. So yeah, the only thing I've done here is I've stayed on the same size needle for the ribbing and the body, because I don't really like it when ribbing like cinches too much, and also because I liked the tightness, the fabric that needle was making, and I didn't want it to be a looser gauge. So this has so far used up this is 1 ball of wool here, and a bit, I think, because this is the second ball here. So I'm at 1 ball of wool, could get going on this back panel and probably get through another ball of wool. But yeah, I'm really liking it. I love the ribbing here. This is done with slipped stitches. I think it looks really nice. And then there's a faux seam on the sides here, which I think looks great as well. And there is waist shaping on this, which I also really like, because it means that it hopefully will keep in some of my warmth. And I'm really looking forward to like just a basic cardigan that's really nice looking, and hopefully this is a drop shoulder, so the sleeves are fairly big, but hopefully my sleeves won't be so big that I can't layer this. That's what I'm hoping for. And it's a mild yarn. It's 2 strands, and one strand is like one strand is a light grey and one strand is white, basically. It doesn't look quite as mild when you actually look at it. It just looks like sort of variegated or something, but yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I was really on a roll with it, and then at the weekend we went out for a walk, and I thought that this was too big and heavy of a project to take with me. So I started a new project, which was probably, to be fair, is probably heavier actually than this one would have been, but never mind. So, and that project already has used a ball of wool. So, sometimes when I'm, I don't know, sometimes I just get the desire to like search through Ravelry for the perfect X pattern. And I was doing that with, I was just thinking, you know, these 2 balls of hand spun yarn, they're really beautiful. They're similar weights. This one's a bit thinner than this one, but they're sort of similar weights. Actually, they're quite different, but ish. They're kind of, you know, cool colours in the cooler colour scheme. And so I thought, what could I do with these? Because I think that they're a bit too loud to make something on its own with them. Maybe I'm wrong, like, I don't know. I just was like, oh, a hat with this it'd be too much, I thought. And I really wanted it to be in something. And so I searched Ravelry and ended up finding the genius idea of, guess what? A Lily Kate pattern. Yes, folks, this is the Lily Kate show. I added this skein of mohair, which I got from a charity shop. It is a Wool and the Gang skein of mohair, and it's very thick. It's probably like mohair and polyamide and some other stuff in it. But it's quite thick, and I thought it kind of went with these. So I'm making, and this is a pattern that I had saved and really wanted to make anyways, and it is the circumference sweater, which is the simplest colourwork sweater. It's literally just these blotches of colour in a band, and then plain, and then more blotches, and then plain. And it just is a really simple yoked pullover. And I'm absolutely loving it. I am so excited about it. It is... Oh, I'm really annoyed because the light is really good. It's just... It looks like it's really bad. The light in here. It's just really bright sunny now. It used to be cloudy and it was nice lighting, but now it's bright and sunny. Anyway, I'm obsessed with this. It's gonna be so cool, and I think it's just the best way of showing off this hand-spun yarn, and it's using up more stash because I'm using my alpaca that just never ends. This cone, I have another full cone, and I just started this cone. and I had 2 cones before. Maybe it was just 1. I can't remember how many I actually bought in the first place. Might have been 4, it might have been 3. But I know I made a cherry jumper, a Gibson ruffle blouse. Both of those I was using the yarn held single. And I still had some cone left over. So I started out with that small cone. And I used that at the weekend. And that gave me this, basically, up until here. And then I had to wait till I got home to start the new cone. I'm doing a technique with this because my handspun is kind of worsted weight, and this is like quite clearly lace weight. So what I'm doing is a technique that you can use in spinning as well, which I actually used on this wool. So this is 3-ply, and it's done using a technique, I think it's called chaining. So basically you have a loop of yarn here, which is obviously double thick, and then you have the plain yarn. And when you get to the end of this section, you're using triple yarn. You pull the plain yarn through the loop to create a new loop, if that makes any sense. And then you pull and create a new loop again. And you just keep doing it. And that's how you create a triple thick yarn out of a single string of yarn. So yeah, I'm just doing that with the alpaca, so it's held triple. So I've used this alpaca, I've used a pink version of this alpaca to make the Maud tee by Petite Knit, which I made in 2021, and I gave away to my mum because I didn't really suit me. But I made that Maud tee holding the alpaca double. And I've made 2 jumpers now holding the alpaca single. And now I'm making a jumper holding it triple. So I think that's quite fun. I've now used this alpaca in 3 different weights of itself. And again, it's alpaca, I got it from Yarn Undyed, and I got it fairly cheaply, 250 grams for like £14, I think. And 250 grams is more than enough for a jumper because this stuff is it's 1,000 meters per cone. 1,000 meters, 193 yards. 1,093 yards. And it's 100% Peruvian superfine alpaca. And yeah, I got it from Yarn Undyed. Oddly, because this is clearly dyed. I have a swatch here that I have yet to unwind because I don't like cutting my swatches. So that used up 1 cone of alpaca, which was the leftover cone. And so when I started the Great Count, I had 300 balls of wool, and now I am down to 253. So that is not bad going. I have not long to go until I'm at 250, down from 300. It's been a very knitting heavy January so far because I've been ill, so I'm imagining it will definitely reduce quite a lot. But I'm really, really, really excited about all the projects that I'm currently working on. I did also start a pair of socks for myself, and I will show those to you. My partner and I are planning to walk the whole length of the Thames, and that's what we were doing at the weekend. We were starting out the very beginning of that walk. We were going to the Thames, where the Thames starts, and we were walking. And I got this yarn. This is from All You Knitters Love, and it's the One More Wool, merino, superwash merino and nylon, and it is hand-dyed, and the colour is Eat Your Broccoli, which I love. And here is the wool. You can see like all of the little flecks of green, and it's mostly white. There's bits of yellow and orange. It's coming out slightly cooler in tone. It's a bit warmer in person, but I've got that, and when I got this for Christmas I thought these would be perfect together, the neon yellow with this. And so my idea was, this is a Lang Yarwool, my idea was that I wanted to knit a pair of socks that I only worked on when we were walking on the Thames path, and just have them be my Thames socks. So this is what I got on our walk. It was quite cold, and it was also quite what's the word? It was very adventurous. Lots of adventure, so I didn't knit as much as I normally would have. But I got the ribbing, the top ribbing done, and I'm just making a plain pair of 3x1 ribbed socks with some stripes from the superwash, and not superwash, from the neon. I think I'm gonna do 2 stripes, and then I will carry on, and then use this for the heel. Maybe not the toe, but maybe just the heel. So yeah, this project will only be worked on when I'm walking on the Thames path, and then I'm excited about that. I'm making this with 1.75mm needles, and I think the gauge looks pretty good, and it's not the tightest gauge in the world, but you know, you can only go down so much before you must just give up. Yeah, so that's my other whip. I do have plans for my Welcome to the Jungle. My plan is all of February, the only whip I'm going to work on, the whole of February, is going to be my Welcome to the Jungle. And I'm trying to make myself get myself like looking forward to it. So I'm sort of not letting myself work on the Welcome to the Jungle, and then I'm just gonna like save up all of the excitement for working on it to do in February, so that it's all like a fun, exciting challenge and not like a force yourself and it's awful and I hate it challenge. Obviously if it becomes something I hate, I'm gonna change it and stop, because for me the point of the hobby is enjoyment. And one must remember these goals when one is doing something. It's so easy to let those things get out of your sight, isn't it? But anyway, the last thing I have to show you is I've done a swatch. Look at how lovely. I think I've already shown this to you, actually. I've just been carrying this swatch around and feeling it. It's just getting nicer and nicer. I think I'm going to swap this colour and put it in the middle here. But I think I have landed on and decided upon the... so this is a strand of Silk Exquisite from West Yorkshire Spinners, and then a strand of Soft Silk Mohair from Knitting for Olive. And I think I'm going to make I am going to make, because I bought the pattern now, I'm going to make the Cozy Raglan Light by Jessie Maid. And this is my swatch. This is 4mm needles here. This is 3.75 here, and this is 3.5. And to be honest, I don't see a huge difference, really. I wanted to see how the colours looked, and they are kind of exactly how I imagined them. Very like subtle, faded. The colour of the based strand is quite... It's not a vibrant pink, but it's more vibrant. And then all the mohairs are like more muted. So I think it's a really nice combination. And the fabric that it makes is really, really, really nice. So yeah, I'm looking forward to starting this. It uses that waste yarn cast on, like what they have in the ranunculus, and I find it quite fiddly and slightly annoying, so it's kind of been making me put off actually starting this project. But that's fine, I don't need to start it, I can start it when I feel like it. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. So that's everything from me today. I've just done a everything I knit in 2022 video, so you can see all these things here. So if you want to head over there and check that out, do so. And as always, so nice to get to chat to you and show you what the things I've made. I really love reading your comments, so if you have the time or you feel like it, drop me a line, say hi, tell me what you are working on or what project you're excited to see. I know it's always the Welcome to the Jungle. You'll be excited for February. It's coming soon. It's coming very soon, actually. I have to pause all these projects. So yeah, until next time, I will see you later.